car is just comfortable. And that's the nice thing about it. It's just such a nice place to be in. As you can hear, there's no bumps or rattles. What draws us all to this stuff is the community, is the sound, the sights, like all this stuff is part of it. Welcome back to the channel. As promised, here it is, my 1977 Jaguar XJ6 with a little tiny secret, and obviously we're gonna get into the little secret today. It is a beautiful Thursday afternoon. I got you guys a scenic backdrop. Hopefully they don't kick me out of here. I thought this would be apropos. I have a little bit of time to myself. I can show you around the car, tell you all the little quirks and features. I can get into a little bit of why I wanted to trade for this specific one. Let's get into it. Firstly, I think it goes without saying that this thing is just beautiful. But, so a classic car might seem a little off-brand for me, for some of you guys that don't know me real well. But I say this quite a bit. I like pretty much everything. I'm a car guy, period. I don't have necessarily a specific kind of car. I tend to lean towards performance cars just because I'm also a speed freak. But I have a list a mile long of different kinds of cars, different genres of cars that I wish to own one day, hope to own one day. The list is so eclectic and different. I have anything from a 63 Lincoln Continental to a Ferrari 308 GTB, Viper GTS, all kinds of stuff, like literally all over the place. So this may seem a little off-brand, but like I said, I've been looking for this one for a while. My dad is into a lot of British and European cars. So growing up, those are the cars that were like the ones to get. And I started leaning more towards performance because I just like to go fast as well. So this is my 77 Jag XJ6L, and we'll get into what the L stands for once we step into the interior. The color is one of the biggest things that drew me to this one specifically, besides, you know, the deal of it, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the interior-exterior color combo was like just perfect. They call this a biscuit interior. You know, in modern times, this is called a saddle interior. When you talk about luxury cars and they talk about interior color schemes, this would be more saddle, but back then they called it biscuit. You know, how British of them, right? And that is very complemented by all the wood grain, which is real wood too, really cool. The wood grain on the dash, as well as the black two-tone, it just gives such a nice color contrast. That is complemented obviously by the exterior color, this blue turquoise looking color, which they call Sullant blue. What Sullant means, I have no idea, but that is the color palette for this car. It really stood out to me. A lot of times you don't see this color, and especially you don't see it in this kind of shape. What I found out later was that the car had been restored, and you can see that in just how everything's pretty preserved. You can see all the interior's really nice. The back seats don't look like they've been used in years. The roof looks fantastic. Everything is where it needs to be. All the chrome looks really, really nice. One of the big things is this door. The opening and closing of this door is just so perfect. Like, you don't get that these days. You know, that thud with the doors opening and closing. And so as we push into the rear of the vehicle, you see a little bit what they mean by L. The space you have in the rear is just, a 6'4" person can sit back here and be totally comfortable. I mean, I'm 5'11" and I sit back there and have no issues whatsoever. I've got leg room, I've got headroom. It's pretty amazing. Everything's really preserved. It looks really, really nice. It's a nice place to be. You can see down there that it's got rear climate control. This is in 77. Jaguar had rear climate control in 77. Pretty amazing. But yeah, I mean, overall, everything's in pretty good shape. I'm not this kind of person that's super pressed usually on the shape of a vehicle when I go pick them up, because typically I'm looking to modify, I'm looking to kind of bring back, I'm looking to do some of the work myself. So it doesn't bother me when I pick up cars that need this and that, but seeing this thing, that thud, oh my gosh, it just feels perfect. Like you don't get that mechanical click anymore. Anyways, so let's walk back here to the boot. That is the trunk of the vehicle, obviously, because we're British now, so we call it the boot. And you open it up and you see there is ample space for 3 or 4 bodies back here. Obviously, that is a joke. One would never sully our Jag with bodies. The full-size spare is supposed to be down there, but it is currently on the vehicle, and we won't even get into why it's currently on the vehicle. Well, let's get into it a little bit. I bought 4 brand new tires for this vehicle, and soon after just driving it around, I had a flat, so I had to put the spare on. Our old owner left me with, obviously, this fold-out chair, and you know it was owned by an old man because this fold-out chair was in here. So that's a nice little keepsake from our old owner. So let's get into the main reason for this entire video, which is telling you all and showing you all her dirty little secret. Obviously, it's not a Jag unless the bonnet opens like this. Backwards is the way to go. That's how you know you have a real Jag. But here it is. Some of you have guessed, but guessed wrong. Boom, there it is. It is a Chevy small block, a Chevy 350, which is out of a C3 Corvette. And actually for me, this was a great selling point. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to pick this specific one up, because, you know, with older cars, with collectibles, with anything from this kind of era, especially when it's British, you're going to have some issues that come up, especially if you want to do what I do with these vehicles, which is enjoy them and not just kind of keep them as something to kind of admire. And the straight 6 or the V12 would have been fantastic for collectability. All original cars definitely have their market, but you know, resto mods and cool swaps are actually something that's kind of coming into the forefront of the car scene, because the younger generation doesn't seem to care as much. We want something that works. We want something we can get into and drive all the time. So having it be something that's period correct and having it be numbers matching isn't necessarily something that matters these days. That's even for collectability's sake. That said, I don't particularly enjoy carbureted cars. They're not my favorite, but it's enough of a familiarity here that I can hop in and work on it, or I certainly know people that know these cars real well. I can also walk into any store and buy parts for it. The straight 6 that used to be in here isn't notorious for too many issues, but they do have their problems, and parts are pretty difficult to get overall. As well as the V12. The V12 is obviously a V12. Everybody wants one, but if you know anything about V12s, they are notorious for issues. We don't want to even get into that. If it was something that I was never going to drive, then it wouldn't matter. But for something that I'm going to use the way I like to use cars that I get, having this V8 is actually the best. It is a Chevy 350, like I said, small block out of a Corvette, makes about 300 horsepower, about that same torque. So almost double the horsepower and torque numbers of the straight 6 that used to be in here. Part of the reason why this is a common swap for this, and it is a common swap for these. In the late 70s and 80s, Jag had a partnership with GM, and they were supplying them with transmissions. And so the transmission in this vehicle is actually a Turbo 400, which is a common Chevrolet transmission that any Chevy motor can bolt up to, especially the small blocks, can bolt right straight up to it. The common swap that gets done to a lot of these, especially when, you know, their motors go bad or somebody just doesn't want to deal with the straight 6 or the V12 that's in here. Roadkill. If you watch that, there's an episode of Roadkill where they pick up what they end up calling the Jaguar, and they end up doing all kinds of cool stuff with that car. But when they picked it up, they talk in depth about how, you know, it's got a turbo 400. So if you want to see that, go look for that episode on Roadkill. It's a really fun episode. That's also one of the episodes that really drew me to this specific Jag anyways, is as I saw that car on Roadkill and all the fun adventures they had with it. I love the body lines, obviously. I like that sloped back roof. Body lines of the car really work for me, just reinforced that I do gotta own one of these, and now I do. But yeah, that's her little secret. That's what's fun about this one. It's a car that I can use for exactly what I want, which is an old classic car, but it's got Chevy bones underneath it, so it's reliable, it's easy to service, it's easy to maintain, and I get to be able to enjoy it the way most people wouldn't for something this old. They would be scared that something would break and it would be impossible to fix. I don't have to worry about that. It's pretty much a Chevy with a cool exterior at this point. But yeah, hopefully this was a fun episode for you guys. Thank you all for participating. I heard all kinds of stuff. 2JZ, it's got an LS swap, which all would have been very cool, but it's got a Chevy 350 in it. You know, that is the LS of that time and that era. They put that in everything. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen with this car just yet, whether I'm gonna modify it or keep it the way it is. But if you know me well, you know what's gonna happen if I end up keeping it a long time. It is a fun little car to tool around in. People do like it, but comment below if you wanna see bags on it. Maybe you want me to leave it alone and not touch it. LS swap, 2JZ swap, who knows what I could do with it. I've got a few motors just lying around, so it is always possible to re-swap it with something cool, or we could just leave well enough alone and enjoy it for what it is. Comment below, let me know. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you later.